If your Linux system is connected to the internet, it's constantly being scanned. Silent threats can be lurking without us noticing them. Bots and attackers are always looking for open ports and vulnerable services. Without a properly configured firewall, your system could be exposed without you even realizing it. In this video, you'll learn how to secure your Linux machine using UFW. So, let's get started. UFW stands for Uncomplicated Firewall, and as the name suggests, it's designed to make managing firewall rules on Linux simple. Instead of dealing with complex low-level tools, UFW lets you control network traffic using clear and readable commands. You can define rules like allowing SSH access, opening web ports, or blocking unwanted connections, all in just a few steps. UFW is commonly used on distributions like Ubuntu and Debian, where it often comes pre-installed or ready to use. In real-world setups, especially on cloud servers, there's often already an external firewall provided by the hosting platform. UFW acts as an additional layer on the system itself, giving you more control and an extra level of protection. In short, UFW is a simple and effective way to manage firewall rules directly on your Linux machine. Now let's actually get UFW up and running. A good first step is to check whether it's already installed on your system. On many distributions, especially Ubuntu-based ones, UFW often comes pre-installed. You can quickly verify this by running UFW status. If it's installed, you will get a short message with the current status. If it's not available, you can install it using your system's package manager like apt on Debian or Ubuntu, DNF on Fedora, or Pacman on Arch Linux. Here are the commands you can use to install UFW, depending on the distribution you use. Before enabling the firewall, there's one important thing to keep in mind. If you're connected over SSH, make sure to allow SSH access first. Otherwise, you risk locking yourself out of your own system. Once that's taken care of, you can enable UFW with a single command. This activates the firewall and, on most systems, ensures it starts automatically on boot. Finally, you can confirm everything is working by checking the status in verbose mode, which shows your active rules and default policies. Now let's go through the core commands you'll be using most of the time. A good habit is to start with UFW status, which shows whether the firewall is active and what rules are currently in place. You can also use the numbered or verbose versions for more detailed output, depending on your needs. To control traffic, UFW uses allow and deny commands. With allow, you can open access using a port, a service name, or a combination of port and protocol. For example, you can use a command like UFW allow 80, which allows traffic on port 80. You can also reference only the service name like UFW allow SSH. And if you want to be specific, you can use both as in UFW allow 443/TCP, which allows traffic on port 443 using the TCP protocol. The deny command follows the exact same pattern for blocking traffic. Deny command tells UFW to block specified traffic. In case you need to remove a rule, you can either specify it directly or more easily use the delete command with the rules number. You can get the number by running the status command with the numbered flag, which would display all rules with unique numbers next to them. That way you can safely reference and remove a specific rule from the list. For general maintenance, you can reload UFW to apply changes using the reload command or reset it entirely if you want to start fresh using the reset command. If you want to check the installed version, there is the UFW version command. After setting everything up, you can enable UFW using the mentioned enable command. Throughout this section, sudo isn't shown, but keep in mind that most UFW commands require elevated privileges. These commands form the foundation of working with UFW, and you'll use these commands in the majority of cases. If you'd like a deeper understanding of things like port numbers or network protocols such as TCP and UDP, feel free to check our videos on those topics linked in the description. So far, we've seen creating specific rules. But what happens if traffic doesn't match any of them? That's where default policies come in. These define how UFW handles traffic by default. A common and secure setup is to deny all incoming connections while allowing outgoing traffic. This means that by default, your system blocks any unsolicited access from the outside, while still being able to initiate connections normally, like browsing the web or downloading updates. You can confirm these settings using UFW status verbose, where you'll see the current default policies, including incoming, outgoing, and routed traffic. Routed traffic refers to traffic passing through the system, which is also denied by default. In practice, this setup creates a secure baseline. Everything is blocked unless you explicitly allow it with a rule. You can think of these defaults as the foundation, while the rules you add act as exceptions on top. Now let's quickly walk through a simple scenario to see how rule order works in practice. Imagine you want to allow this laptop, with this IP address, to connect to your server over SSH, but block any other type of access from that same IP. To do that, you might add two rules. One that allows traffic from that IP to port 22, which is used for SSH, and another that denies all traffic from that address. In these commands, the from keyword specifies the source IP, and to any port or a specific port defines which service is being accessed. At first glance, this setup seems correct, but the order of these rules makes all the difference. UFW processes rules from top to bottom, and the first matching rule is applied. So if the deny rule comes first, the connection is blocked immediately, and the allow rule is never even considered. You can view and manage this order using UFW status numbered. To get the intended behavior, you need to place the more specific rule first, allowing SSH, followed by the more general deny rule. In other words, UFW works like a checklist. It goes from top to bottom and stops at the first match. This is very useful to know when troubleshooting UFW after getting an unexpected response like the one in this scenario. If you'd like a deeper understanding of concepts like IP addresses, ports, or protocols, feel free to check out the networking playlist linked in the description. Now let's briefly look at how these rules come into play in real situations. Imagine you're managing a server and want to give access to just one trusted machine. For example, your own device while keeping everything else restricted. In that case, you can define a rule that only allows that specific system to connect to a particular service. If you're working in a local network or an office environment, it's often more practical to allow an entire group of devices at once, rather than configuring each one individually. In order to do that, you can use the CIDR notation. On the other hand, if you notice a specific address behaving suspiciously or attempting to access something it shouldn't, you can block it entirely. You can also combine these approaches. For instance, allowing a whole network to access a specific service like HTTPS, while still keeping other ports restricted. And beyond incoming traffic, you might want to control where your system can connect to, such as preventing communication with certain external networks. In practice, these kinds of rules are especially useful when working with stable or known IP addresses, as they make your configuration easier to manage and help create a more controlled and secure environment. Now let's look at a few additional features that can make UFW easier to manage in real-world environments. One useful capability is logging, which allows you to monitor allowed and blocked traffic for troubleshooting, auditing, or detecting suspicious activity. You can enable logging directly through UFW with this command and adjust how much information gets recorded by selecting different logging levels, ranging from minimal output to more detailed tracking. Here are the 5 log levels available in UFW. The default level is low, but you can change it to a higher level in case you want more details. Generated logs typically get stored in the system's log directory. Another practical feature is application profiles, which simplify configuration for common services. Instead of manually opening individual ports, you can view predefined application profiles and apply rules using the application name itself. For example, if you have Nginx installed on your machine, you can use this command to simplify your firewall configurations. After that, you can use the app list command to view all applications that are currently configured. In this example, you can see Nginx HTTP and HTTPS, as those are the default protocols used by this service. Similar profiles are commonly available for applications such as Apache or OpenSSH and others, helping streamline firewall management while reducing configuration mistakes, as you no longer need to set each port individually. Let's put everything together with a practical example. Imagine you're hosting an e-commerce website that needs to be publicly accessible while still remaining secure. In this kind of setup, the firewall acts as a protective layer around the server, allowing only the traffic that's actually required. Since users need to access the website, HTTP and HTTPS traffic must be permitted so the application can load properly. At the same time, Administrative access over SSH should also be available for tasks like updates, maintenance, or deploying new features. In order to allow those services to access the website, you might use these commands we discussed in the previous chapters. Keep in mind that you also shouldn't be too extreme with the restrictions. If the firewall becomes too restrictive or essential rules are missing, legitimate traffic may be blocked entirely, causing parts of the website or services to stop functioning correctly. In many real-world environments, a service like Nginx is commonly placed in front of the application to handle web traffic more efficiently, while UFW continues controlling which connections are allowed to reach the server in the first place. This example represents a simplified high-level overview, but it demonstrates a common security approach. Only expose the services that are actually needed, while keeping everything else restricted by default. Before wrapping up, here are a few best practices that can help make your firewall setup both safer and easier to manage over time. If you're connected remotely, always allow SSH access before enabling UFW to avoid locking yourself out of the system. A good general approach is to start with restrictive defaults and only open the services that are actually required. As configurations evolve, it's also important to review firewall rules regularly and remove anything that's no longer needed. After making changes, take a moment to test critical services carefully to ensure legitimate traffic is still working as expected. Logging can also be extremely useful for troubleshooting or identifying blocked connections. And whenever possible, prefer more specific rules over broad ones, as tighter control usually results in a more secure and predictable setup. In conclusion, UFW provides a practical and approachable way to manage firewall rules on Linux systems, whether you're securing a personal machine or a publicly accessible server. Throughout this video, we explored the core concepts behind firewall management, including default policies, rule ordering, IP-based filtering, useful features, and real-world configuration examples. While every environment has different requirements, the overall goal remains the same. Expose only the services that are actually needed, while keeping everything else restricted by default. As with many areas of system administration, building secure and reliable configurations comes with practice, testing, and understanding how different components interact. Hopefully, this video gave you a solid foundation for working with UFW and a better understanding of how firewall management fits into a broader Linux security workflow. That wraps up our introduction to UFW and firewall management on Linux. If you found this video useful, feel free to subscribe for more tech content. You can also check out our other videos and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you for watching.